Hey everyone. A little bit of technical difficulties there. Can everyone hear me okay? Not sure what just happened there, but welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're super excited to have you all here. My name's Adam. If you watch the podcast at all, then you already know who I am. Kind of the Ed McMahon to Johnny over there. And by the way, I don't know what that reference really means, but Joe wanted me to say it, so it's in there. And if you don't watch the podcast, then you guys definitely should. So anyways, though, enough about me. We all know who you're here to watch. The man, the myth, the legend, our CEO, Joe Kowalski. I'm going to pass it off to him. Take it away, Joe.
Oh, can you hear me? Mike says no sound, and no name say no sound.
We got you.
All right. Very good. All right. Hey, sorry about that rough start, guys. Hopefully that'll be the worst of it, which isn't our technology. That's sponsored by Big Marker. Shutting down our cameras. Is it lagging? You guys let me know if it's lagging, or can you hear me? I can hear you. I've got you. You're good. Okay, very good. Okay, again, deep thank you. It's interesting how you can put a date on a calendar and 150 people will show up. So that's always very humbling. Michael did an amazing job getting the word out, and the team members in the engineering department and the sales department and support department, you know, we've been busting our ass for the last few months. So a lot of them are hanging out here. You'll see some of that later in the aftermath of content. And after this, we'll probably do a little Facebook Live. But again, just thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for letting us pontificate our wares at you. Usually we drop value. Today, it's all about us. It's about what we've been doing with ServiceMonster and how we've really helped simplify this product to make your business easier and better. Now, I got to break this up into two sections, right? There's a bunch of you who are current clients. Can you run the poll, Michael, so that we can see what we're dealing with here? My guess is 50% of you guys are going to be current clients that are listening, and then 50% are going to be new prospects, people who are just here to kind of check us out, haven't really heard about us, or heard about us in the media stream for a long time, but just kind of wanted to pop in and see what's up. So if you could just follow that and submit that for me, that'd be great. So that means I got to break this up a little bit, because there's no way I can talk about all the good things that we've done just out of the box. ServiceMonster's a beast. So what I want to do is at first kind of introduce those who don't know to the ServiceMonster platform. So please forgive me for those of you who are masters of the product already. However, you will see a lot of the new stuff as I do that. And then we'll go specifically into the new features, and then afterwards we'll do a Q&A. Okay, so let's dive into ServiceMonster. For those of you who are fairly new, the screen that you're seeing before you right now is, oh, this is what they were talking about. Ha! The screen that you're seeing before you now is ServiceMonster, and it is actually the new product, Core, or at least what looks like the new product, Core. If I open up my feature set, you'll actually see that I'm running ServiceMonster Enterprise. I've just decided to turn off all the features that are not offered in Core. And so what I get is a very simple CRM. You've got accounts, order scheduling, and your settings. If I go through the settings, you kind of get your grounded idea. You know, this is where you put your services and products that you sell. You can create packages, which are groups of products and services. You can create promotions, which link lead sources to packages. So you can offer codes on, let's say, postcards or ads. And when they turn in that code, you know what package they're referring to, and everything connects together and gives them the proper offer and discount. And then, of course, tax rates, if you're taxed for most of your services. A lot of states aren't, but we cover lots of different tax rules, whether or not you're in Canada or New Zealand or the US or Australia. Like, we've pretty much got it covered. So good stuff there. If you need more employees, which we don't charge by employees per se, we've got 3 packages. We'll talk about that in a bit, but most of our packages are unlimited users. We do not charge you based off your users. Yes, you can track commissions. Routes have to do with scheduling. API users, I will dig into at the end a little geek speak about how you can hook up to ServiceMonster in different ways, like Zapier. We've got some marketplace vendors that do it, and you can use your own stuff So I'll talk about that a little bit, but that's very geeky stuff. And then your basic access log stuff. So from a setup point of view, it's fairly simple. Once you get that stuff set up, you have all these available to you. Now I want to jump right into the schedule because our data shows this is where you guys live most of your day. From a desktop point of view, managing your schedule is really what it's all about. And being able to see what's going on and like mapping routes and how everything flows together, or whether you want to run through jobs and confirm them, making confirmation calls or sending out texts or emails. You can automate that, of course, but a lot of those workflows, collecting payment or calling people to making sure everything was okay, we have tried to rebuild our schedule so that it's really high density of data, which is something that we've improved upon over time, but also high efficiency so that you can stay on the screen and do most of what you need to do. A good example here might be clicking on an order. It pops up here in this sidecar. I can see what's going on, but really clearly I can see I've got an unpaid work order that status is scheduled. So if I wanted to zip through this here on the sidecar and send an email or make a contact with the client, I can do that and then just mark it as confirmed. And I can run down each one of those and apply those same rules or those same contact methods. Email allows me to pull from templates, which I can do all kinds of fun stuff there. If I wanted to load a template that's mail merged, which can include things like a payment link. So your users or your clients can pay you online. So it makes that kind of billing and collecting of payments real simple. And one thing that we'll talk about later more in depth is the completion wizard, your ability to close out the work order into an invoice, make any corrections that need to be made, applying your payments, updating your job, time logs if you're tracking that, although it's not necessary, assigning commissions if you have any, and of course, if the invoice hasn't been paid, emailing the client, I guess either way, right? Email them if it's paid or email them with a link to pay you. So the workflows are really simple here on the schedule. And I can move these jobs around however I want, just like you would expect, increasing their time. I've got totals expected for the day, and this is broken up based off how many jobs each order has and their job type. You can schedule work or rework, pick up and drop off. So you can kind of design your schedule to work the way you need it to for your business. Another thing that's interesting is the definition of routes. So it's kind of like buckets on the schedule, and you can attach technicians and employees to those routes that will automatically be assigned when you place jobs there. And then you can, color code it, which will help you on the integration of Google Maps for routing. And then you can identify the different types of services that each one of these trucks or vans or individuals, if it's a worker, can deal with. And that way, you can actually use it to sort things. Like if I just wanted to look at Joe's schedule, very easy. If I want to look at anybody who can do tech services like carpet cleaning, right, using hot water extraction, or if I have exterior cleaning services or duct cleaning, I can pull up the routes necessary in order to do the things I need to do, which includes, of course, scheduling a job. So if I click on the schedule where I expect the job to be, here's the job date and time that I clicked on. And now I have what we call a quick add. You're going to focus on this a lot. As you use ServiceMonster from the desktop, the quick add is an essential feature that allows you to easily create accounts or find accounts and whip up orders and jobs. So if you think about when the phone rings and you pick it up and you have that conversation with the client, a lot of the time you play this dance of whether or not they're in your database. Have you used us before? And very few CRMs get this right. They make you pick a path, and if you choose the wrong path, you've got to re-enter data. So if you think they're in the database and you search for them and you can't find them and you have to add them, you got to talk about that info again. If you add it and find out that it's duplicate, which we do a lot to help you prevent you from duplicates, and even if you have a duplicate, we do a lot to help you merge duplicates together if you find that there was a problem later. But in this case, let's just go out and fill this form. And I'm talking with the client, right? So whether or not they give me their name or their phone number, it really doesn't matter. Over here, what ServiceMonster is going to do is it's going to bring up possible matches. It's going to say, hey, this could be who you're talking about, right? It hit off name, it could hit off address. So husband and wife teams are really easy to identify. So you can see here it hit off last name and gave me those options. If I decide, well, is this the one I want? I've clicked on it, it's selected it. Here you can see I can move forward with this account. But if it's not, if I clicked on it and I wasn't sure if this was the right account, I can go back and it still has all of my information there. And the system will then fully let me create a duplicate if you think it's not really a duplicate. And then here I can whip up some work order information and details. Again, we started with the job on the schedule, and so here's where we end. And we can do things like adding multiple jobs for this order very quickly here, plugging in a routine job against a number of weeks. So very powerful, again, very powerful in the quick add. And then we can wrap the whole thing up with a general confirmation. So reading back to the client, hey, Mrs. Jones, I've got so-and-so work for you, totaling this. I'm going to be out this date. And then you can send them an email or text confirmation and an email or text reminder. And confirmation is as soon as you close this out, I'm going to send you an email and let you know, yes, I have it on my schedule. You can put it on your schedule. We just talked. It's all good. And then the job reminder, if you set them up, maybe that can text them the day before the job, maybe to a link to your website for anything to expect. If you're doing deck cleaning services, let's say, then you're able to tell them, hey, you got to make sure that you got to clean up your deck and make sure all the stuff is off of there, right? Don't worry about the barbecue and so forth, but make sure that's taken care of. So you can get your customers to help prepare for you in that way. And if you're not, and it sounds scary, it might be. There's a lot of clients who say, "Ooh, I don't want to do that because maybe my cancellation rates will go up." And that's, again, totally optional here, whether or not you want to turn those features on or off, whatever's right for your business. All right, so that's the quick add. And in large part, that's the schedule. Like, we can go really deep and really complex, but that's kind of the focus. If we dive into a couple key parts of the job here, for instance, let's go into the account itself. From here, we do some really interesting things that most CRMs don't do, and we're continually improving these. We have weekly, every other week releases usually. We've been a little bit quicker on that as of late, but then there was a time when it went a month or two without a release. But we do usually about 20 releases a year, and that feedback is based off you and a super secret group we have called SMUG, the ServiceMonster user group. There's about 450 people in there that help drive the direction of ServiceMonster based off their feedback, what they look for, what are their friction points. If I could have this, it would save me 3 clicks and a screen load. And so we take those to heart. And over time, we put them into our backlog, and our engineers comb through that. I have one of those engineers. I still sling code to this day. It's not very much, as little as possible, but we have some amazing engineers on the team that poured their heart and soul into this product. So I'm very proud of the team that we've created and how fast that we can adopt. To that end, we already have a very impressive tool set of features. Looking at this account screen, you can see here we have a news feed. This is what happened to this account over time, forever and ever. Every invoice that was created, every payment that was accepted, anything that was deleted, any activities that you generate, not just jobs and so forth. So a running history of the entire life cycle of this client. Across the top here, you see different tabs, and they allow you to do like custom profiles. You can track data that's unique to you for your clients, and then use that for filtering and marketing, which I'll show you later. And of course, you've got sites and activities, your total history and payment history and job history and invoices and so forth, including referrals. We do a pretty extensive job on lead source tracking. So not only can you track your postcard that you send out, but we also allow you to track referrals and track those referrals for referral reward programs. So there's a handful of things you can do with that. So again, very extensive CRM capabilities, not typically where you hang out all day. It's nice to know it's there. Orders is an interesting place because you can do a lot of things, including accounts receivable, obviously, and integration with things like QuickBooks Desktop, QuickBooks Online. That's in our accounting side here. So you connect these up, and your invoices and your payments will, at a click of a button, flow from ServiceMonster to QuickBooks Online. And then we have a couple processes actually for QuickBooks Desktop, although less and less for that support, right? Because Intuit is supporting it less and less. And then, of course, commissions, general accounting. Print settings is pretty extensive. We won't go over that, but it's very flexible. You can send out different print order forms based off whether a commercial or residential client, whether it's an estimate, a work order, or an invoice. And then you can create and group those together in what we call print styles and create multiple print styles. So you can have, pest control invoices on one side that spit out extra pieces of paper for signing, and then on the other side, you've got your basic carpet cleaning or exterior cleaning and sign-offs on that kind of stuff. Let's see, what else? Recurring jobs, pretty fascinating. So you can set up recurrences, so you can clean a house every third Thursday of every other month, and you can do these for both residential and commercial clients. One thing that I didn't show you that I'll pop in here for real quick is this concept of contracts for clients, whether they're residential or commercial, it doesn't matter. But we allow you to set up a contract that will reoccurring bill them on a regular basis. Right now, monthly, every 3 months, every 6 months, or yearly. So you can set up a very clean, stay beautiful program, right? Like John Don teaches. And Ed York has been talking about this for years, and we've had clients for years and wanted to do this or did it in a way that wasn't easily managed. This allows you to manage that easily. You can set up multiple recurrences, tie those recurrences to the contract, and then set up your recurrence pattern for your payment. So the customer could be paying you $30, $35 a month, and then you could do a deep clean once a year and then regular visits or what have you. So this is gaining popularity, of course, with recurring services. But I really want to push this into the other non-recurrent services to get your guys' revenue kind of flattened out for the year. All right, so I kind of went around a circle about that one. So those are your basics in core, right? I mean, again, a pretty robust system with automated reminders and job reminders, and you can do post-job stuff, control of your routes and your schedule, your orders, and your accounts. Let's extend it a little bit though. So if I click on this features tab, now let's move out of core and more into what would be pro. We can turn on marketplace and fill my schedule. We'll start with that. So you'll notice now I've got these options, marketplace and fill my schedule. Fill my schedule is ServiceMonster's direct mail program. So we send out thank you and reminder cards on a regular basis. These are tentfold cards in an envelope with a stamp. Average ROI nationwide is 800%. If you want to learn about more, we've got all kinds of information on that. So it's a pretty successful program. We've been doing it for over a decade. We have a whole section dedicated to it because we give you charts and mechanisms for editing and maintaining, and then kind of figuring out how you want to manipulate the system to increase your overall repeat rate. The marketplace is interesting because it allows us to leverage other companies and expertise that they do and yet connect the data. And so here you see things like Stripe and Twilio, Senjim's Radius Bomb, Responsibid, Nice Job, Fiddlebug, right? All of these pieces, some of them are you pay for the other side, and some of them aren't, like Google Calendar is free. The invoice page and the ServiceMonster web forms are just features in ServiceMonster that you can turn on. So that's pretty nice. And we have ways that you can do invoices, and soon coming ways to get approvals for orders. So we were hoping to get that finished for this particular webinar, but we got so much done. It was pretty incredible. So look for that in the next couple weeks. One thing that's interesting though is web forms, but I can't really talk about that until I turn on leads and opportunities. While I'm in here, I'll turn on marketing and drip campaigns as well. Okay, so in leads and opportunities, yep, there, it was there, I missed it. Leads and opportunities, you've got this lead list. So you can do things like, so here's your lead list, right? New leads that you need to accept or decline. So if I go to the marketplace and I look at my ServiceMonster web forms, I can take this snippet of code and I can plug it in on my website, and this web form will show up. You can also set it so that's just a button, which means it goes to a ServiceMonster page, which that's nice, benefits us. Our competitors force you to do that. But if you are okay with an iframe and how you manipulate that, you can save yourself the link out of your site and stay on your site and use an iframe. And that way it stays on their site and you have this nice, beautiful, mobily robust form that allows them to fill out information. And you can do things like show the schedule and show routes and allow them to pick times of availability and so forth. But if I go through and I fill all this out, I'll just fill this out with probably not, let's say that. And then we hit submit. I'm not a robot. We submit that. What that's going to do, it's going to drop, and my phone's going to beep, and all kinds of stuff's going to happen. But here you can see the lead just dropped right in. And so my phone will get notifications. I'll get notifications. You can set it up so you get text, email notifications. You can, I mean, you get notified when a lead comes in. It's like alarm bells. Bing, 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 bing. Look at this. This is pretty cool. So the first thing it does is it drops me into this. Hey, I think this might be a duplicate account. And it does that based off probably the email address and last name. It's got a high likelihood of probability. So it's saying this lead might be really this account, maybe another opportunity with this account. And here's the details of that information that came in. We're going to go ahead and create opportunity, because I like to talk about opportunities in this pipeline too. But just focusing on leads, again, it gives you, it's a quick bucket. So you can tie it into Facebook web forms. You can tie it into your own website. We have hooks on Zapier. You can do it direct through our API. There's literally like a dozen places that you can hook up lead acquisition pipeline so that it immediately comes into ServiceMonster, sends notifications, and drops it in your lead list for management and follow-up. Once you have that, then you're going to have two types of leads depending on your business model. The first type is going to be, can I close this person and get them on the schedule? The other might be, you know what, I'm willing to do a song and dance with this individual because the contract's larger and I know it takes 3 or 4 touches to really close a deal, especially those larger commercial accounts. And so there we have a very nice opportunity system. Here we have this Kanban board that allows you to control your stages of your sales process so that no sales get through the cracks. And then you can manage the notes and you can create activities to your heart's content, right? I can come in here and set up a note or a call or a task or a mail. I can put it on the schedule for a reminder. It'll show up on my mobile devices, and I can really develop a pipeline where I'm in contact, making the sale with this individual, trying to follow up what's going on. All right. So that's the opportunities and leads management section. That ties well, though, into campaigns. And we're not going to go too deep into this. I'm going to show you some drip campaigns, and it's essentially they turn into the same thing. But through campaigns, you can filter and target your client lists and then use those lists to do direct mail, call campaigns, email campaigns, or export campaigns with third-party vendors. So if you wanted to create a direct mail list to send to your local mail house, if people still do faxing, right? Fax campaigns used to be a thing for a minute. So you can do all kinds of clever things to filter your data and customers based off a handful of criteria. There's a number of filters in the system. They all do the same thing. I'm going to show you them here in a minute when we talk about drip campaigns. All right, so ServiceMonster 6 allows you to create these really complex drip campaigns to automate your marketing process. So if I go here to a prospect's email drip, what I've got is I'm focusing on in this filter that says if their active is true, their account type contains prospect, I want them in the list. So that tells me I've got 72 people that match that criteria. I have 2 legs of this drip campaign, and these are individual campaigns. The first one is a welcome campaign, and I can see here that it's recurring daily, and I've got a condition that says the acquisition date or the date that this was added to the account is between 0 and 1 day. So within 24 hours, this campaign will fire and pick up all the new people that were added to your system within that last day, and it will send them automatically an email. You can set up your emails with mail merge and email template, and this will just simply run. And so if you've got that website set up, so it's capturing your leads and you're following up on those leads and you're, nope, not junk, except lead. Essentially, that's all you got to do. And then within 24 hours, they're going to get that welcome email. Well, the second leg here says it's been 1 week. And what we've done is we said acquisition date for that account is between 7 and 8 days. And again, this one's going to run daily. And it's going to send them an email saying, hey, we've known each other for a week now, and you can build some poetic prose around that and see if you can get them to bite. So you can see you can do a lot with this. These blue symbols over here are what we call whats. So the blue is who, and this is when, and these light blues are what. So I'm going to set up a call campaign, which will create activities telling me or whoever I wanted to assign these calls to make phone calls on these particular clients. Mail will create a mail merge list for letters and labels. It'll give you the information to print out yourself. And of course, you've got email, which automates the whole thing using whatever SMTP service you've got plugged into ServiceMonster. And then the export campaign, which essentially, when it executes, it gathers the whole list, puts it into a file that you can use for anything, and then stashes that for you to download. So that's how the drip campaigns work. And each one of these is essentially a campaign. These marketing filters can be used. If I pop back over to the campaigns themselves, let's see. Oh, this is general marketing. I needed something that's got filters. So here's an email one. So 0 of 9,700 accounts filtered. So you can come in here and start, putting in or adding conditions. And you've got a ridiculous amount of stuff that you can target to really refine your list. You can do things like targeting the subdivision that they live in, the date of their last service, whether or not they have a pet, and then send email directed towards the pet. Dear Sparky, not everything you do does your owner think is cute. Call us right away and we'll come take care of that deck, yard, carpet, tile, what have you. So very, very simple to set these things up and then let them automate and run. But then you will also have access to those templates as you use the product on a regular basis. All right, let's see if there's anything else that we've left out. Reporting, dashboards, and inventory control. All right. So reporting and dashboards, pretty slick. We're by far the most extensive reporting system in the game. We put a lot of time and effort into that. If I just go to reports, you'll see we've got lots of reports here crunching your data from financial and management, and if you have taxes and commissions and efficiency reports on your employees and so forth. So lots of stuff here. This is also extensible by us for individual companies or networks. We service 7 franchises and we have custom reports for them. Sometimes we do custom reports for individuals. There's a charge for that, of course, because we can't spend time building reports for people all day long. And if you have some SQL knowledge and data structure and you're a little bit of a geek, you can actually do them yourselves as well. So just a thing to think about. The coolest thing I think is the reports are nice because they give you the data in a file and you can print them out or click around, but I like the dashboards the best. For instance, I'm looking at this one. We'll say the previous year. This company has a repeat rate of 63%. It's up 3% over this time last year, and this is a residential KPI. So really strong repeat rate. Their marketable base that they've done for the last month is 57 clients, again, up 21% compared to this time the previous year. The green here is the commercial. You can see it tells a little bit of a different story. Looks like their commercial work is down a little bit, but again, this is all information to help keep the system humming, and you can't really calibrate your business if you're not focused on the data that your business is generating. This stuff is a gold mine for you guys. So being able to leverage it to make intelligent business decisions is critical. Putting your data in a system, that's awesome. Being able to maybe utilize that the next time around, fair enough. But if it's not building client retention for you and it's not taking that data, then we really need to, and showing you what you're doing with that data, you really need to start at some point thinking, am I getting the most out of all the information I'm putting in? Okay, so that's desktop in a nutshell. I went really fast, lots of features, and I didn't even touch on a whole host of stuff. But I'm hoping that was a good enough introduction for those of you who haven't heard or didn't know that much about ServiceMonster in general. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to pop right into the mobile front. And so let's see. I bring this down. I bring up my phone. All right. Everybody see? I got my phone up. I'll talk about inventory control as part of the end game. I'm going to do after mobile. I'm going to do a section on all the updates that we've done for new users. So I will be talking about that. Okay. No, what? Nothing yet. No. Oh, you can't see. Yeah, my screen bugged out for some reason. Let's do this. Thanks, guys. Hopefully we're coming back here. Can you hear me? No phone. Only seeing you, can't see. Now it's working. Okay, good. We good? I don't know what happened there. It kind of bombed on me, but Carrie, we're not good? Yes, we're good? No mobile yet. Yes, yes. You can't see mobile? Oh, you don't want me to do mobile yet. Phone is up. Yes, good. It's loading. Yes. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to roll. So welcome to ServiceMonster App. Man, if you guys have been paying attention, you know this has been a long, hard road. And the people who were involved in this project did an amazing job seeing it through. We've had a handful of hands in it and some course corrections even with this, but we learned so much about the mobile platform and what it is you guys needed and wanted with our first 2 attempts. Mobile 2, Mobile 3. I think we got it right with Technician, and we did what we sought to prove, but it's not usable for the single owner operator or for the manager in the field. So again, I'm going to show you this from love. This comes from a very deep place for us, and hopefully this goes well, but this is available to you guys via Android and iOS, and it is really kind of at this point, I think, moving towards the crown jewel. I've shown you ServiceMonster from the desktop, wicked powerful, but let's dive into mobile and see if we've got the simplification of that power right. So the first thing I want to do, going into the schedule section here, right, 2 sections, home and schedule. From here, I can create just a new account if I got a new lead that I want to pop in, or I can just whipping up a new order. I'll talk about that in a minute. Or if we get any new leads, right? If I hadn't handled that lead, then it would show me that I've got a lead here. Recent activity, so things that I'm doing, I can pop in here and I can see exactly what's going on, any accounts that I've been dealing with, and then different items, whether it's a payment or a estimate or a work order or a bill or what have you, right? So makes it easy to jump back. Like, who was I working with just yesterday? Well, makes it super easy to do that. And then activities, right? Very good activity management in ServiceMonster app. I can do things like really simple from get milk, get Mike. How about get milk? Oh yeah, it doesn't work that way on my keyboard. Get milk. And just drop that on as a reminder to myself. And there it is. It's got a due date. I mean, just like any other task management system. And I can simply just complete it or make notes on it if I wanted to. If I wanted to tie it to a customer, it's pretty easy. I can come here and select an account. I can either create a new one, or the system will start looking for possible matches. And if it pulls any, then I can grab that, right? So I can grab that possible match. We'll grab this one. Subject here is clean. And again, I'm not creating jobs. I'm not creating orders. This is just a task to myself. This could be a follow-up with somebody. And you can see here, this account's got a phone number. So now my activity's got a place I could just text or call. Real simple, real simple. So managing activities, super simple snap, whether they're related to clients or not, super good for sales activities as well. Okay, and then the schedule here. So you got home and schedule. So I pop over to schedule. I got different views on my schedule. So here's the way that I can jump in and grab a different day. And those little dots tell me that I have things on that day. And then I've got a series of different views. I've got a day view, a week view, a month view, an agenda, right? Agenda is nice because just here's the day, here's a list of stuff I got to do. So it's very much like technician. Popping into a job, I get notes galore. Look at this. So I have the job note, which is nice. So whether the office picked up the phone and booked the job and then left a note, don't knock on the door, the kid might be sleeping. Here we have site note as well. So you can stash a note against a site that'll always be here. In this case, it's a gate code. So hoorah for that. And then the account memo. Good guy does some charity work. Like I just generally know what I'm walking into, right? A couple pictures maybe of the property if I've had over time. And then here I can see, okay, she left me an estimate. This job is an estimate. I got to go out and kind of do the work. Straight from here, though, I can click on this guy and go right to Google and just get directions from where I need to go. I can take images. I can sign. I can collect payment. I can mark it as complete, which we'll go through that in a minute. I can take a look at the time logs, other people checking in and checking out of job. And of course, if I'm a worker, I can come in and I can check into the job and then check out when I'm done or breaks or what have you. And then I get a time log of what's going on. And with that and inventory control, if you're using it, it'll be able to give us tools that can give you things like cost of goods sold and margins on your jobs themselves. Very cool stuff. I can jump in here to go to the account and edit the account if I want to, see their history and their activities, all their contacts and sites. Again, commercial and residential, right? We have special paths for both to make things easy on you. But if I go in here, I can jump right into the estimate and I can then go and walk the estimate. So here I can pop up to a couple of favorites. So I'm gonna do carpet cleaning. And this guy wants me to do 1,500 square feet of carpet cleaning. And so bang, there you go. I've just thrown it on there. It's got $375 job. Let's rock and roll. And then as I go through and complete and do things, let's say I'm done with the job, I'm wrapping up hoses and so forth. I can come in here. I can already see I've captured a couple images, but it does remind me. If you guys ever been to a job site, went, whoa, this is going to be a good before and after. Taking those before pictures, get in your truck and drive away. And then the next day, or you're on social media that night and you go, oh man, I forgot to take the after pictures. Like heartbreaking, right? Especially if you put all that time and effort. You don't want to go back the next day because it's not quite right. You don't want to go inside the home because it's just weird. So this will help you. It'll prompt you for that. Hey, capture more images. You want some more images? I can convert the thing to an invoice, right? Apply them a payment. So here, someone asked earlier about tip. We built it right in. You can just hand it to the client and let them record the payment and add their tip. I'm obviously not going to do that. And then send the email. So let's say they didn't pay you, that they were unassisted on the job. You can send them an email, and you can use the email template we talked about earlier, which has a link that allows the client to click on it and pay you online, right? So really easy, smooth process through the whole thing. And then check out of the job, mark job as complete, and you're good to go. And then you can, of course, go back to your next job on the agenda, right? So the workflow is really what we've built here is really smooth. So we really built this for a handful of workflows. The first one is the one I just showed you, which is handling a job, getting up in the morning, getting to your job, contacting the client. I can do the on my way thing, right? Come in here, there's the thing, open up the text, grab the template. I've got a payment request, but you can have an on my way template. Boom, send the on my way text, and the client knows where you're going. And then process the whole job all the way through collecting payment and so forth, or sending out a text or an email with a payment request. Okay, so that's one. The other one is adding a job to the schedule. So if I go back to my view, say go to the week view. Now, in this example, we wanted to make it so super simple that it was just a few taps to get something on the schedule. So if I find a slot and I tap on it, I get this beautiful, simple screen. So we're going to go with Billy Mays, new customer this time. I may have gotten some matches, but they don't look like Billy. So 4207 Meridian. Okay, that's going to be the address. And my note's going to be cleaning. Right, real simple. Boom, I tap done. and now I've dropped Billy Mays on the schedule, and we're good to go. And of course, I get my text confirmation because I'm signed up as a technician on that route, and I'm going to get an email because I'm testing Zapier connections, and I'm going to get all kinds of fun stuff in the background with these jobs. So if I open it up and I go to the job, there it is, just like before. And then, of course, you can go process that job as normal. But the other process that we wanted to cover, not just popping a job on the schedule, because you can do that and then it creates an estimate. You can fill out the estimate, but some people want to start with the estimate. So that's too many steps if you just want to get an estimate. So what we're going to do, you click on new order, and then this gives you this really super dumb simple screen. So I type in there, I say carpet cleaning. I'm like, yeah, Mr. Jones, that's gonna cost you $375. Well, if he doesn't want it, you click done, and no harm, no foul, and we're all good. If so, we go to the account screen. You've seen this game before, right? We're going to grab, this time we're going to grab Mikey Albertson. Here we go. So now we grab Mikey. We've got the line item. We're good. I can actually make this a work order. I don't have to have an estimate. And I can hit done, and I'm good to go. Drops me back on my home screen, but I can tap the order to view it. Now, if he wants to schedule it, clicking schedule will take me to a screen, finding the job, scheduling the job in 2 taps, and now Mikey's on the schedule. All right, and then I get all my notifications again, but we can go back to, there's all my jobs. So glad that wasn't embarrassing. Where are we going here? The schedule to see Mikey Albertson, there he is. We can go to the day view to see maybe a little bit more. And there it goes, right? And again, now we're back to, well, in this case, we have a work order. And the other thing that I'd like to just kind of touch on real briefly, I don't want to dive into every single feature. This isn't an educational platform. This is kind of like, whoa, I didn't know you guys could do that, or I didn't know it was that simple. Service items. So being able to track service items in the home. So master bedroom, for example, and let's say it's a 20 by 10 by 20. So it tells me quantity, right? It's already square footage. I can track drapes or chairs or whatever I want, right? But the point is that it's an item that you service, and that you're tracking your actual services to that item. So if I add then the service, the master bedroom, watch this quantity. I can have the quantity and description update. Now, if I had multiple service items and I just went through and clicked them all the rooms, it would add up those square footage for me. I can take pictures of individual service items or the rooms, and it's a very powerful tool for upsell. It's a very powerful tool to know what you did the last time you were there. And you can get really detailed, or you can decide not to use it at all, either way. But those are some of the more salient features that we were really targeting, those workflows, processing the job from the time you get up, contacting Mrs. Jones, going through, doing the job, making the estimate, having her, you can do signature and do the whole 9, right? Get payment, send out confirmations, and then also putting things on the schedule, and then also starting with an estimate just to get a total so you can get people to move about their day. So that's kind of the framework of the new app, combined with what a lot of people knew already about ServiceMonster 6. Very good. All right, everybody can still hear me. Everybody can still see. Little check. No, nobody's bothering. You have to have full permissions for this one to be able to add estimates. That is correct. And we can do a Q&A about roles versus rules. Signatures is a thing too. I can pop on there. But I'll get to roles and rules in Q&A. So Adam, if you'll remind me of that, that'd be great. Here's a signature feature. So I click on that. They can see it ahead of time. Click sign, turn the phone, do their thing. Click done, it drops it in. And then we upload that. And now that's part of your history for that order. So you can get signature. And if you have multiple forms, you can get multiple signatures on those forms as well. Very cool. All right. Hopefully Adam's moving stuff to QA. So when we finish with the second segment, which we're about to go into, that'll be easy. A couple more things to point out on mobile, just while I'm thinking about it. This global search is very cool, right at the home screen, being able just to drop right in. Let's see, use the keyboard there. I'm done. Search. And so it shows me the accounts, the sites, and the orders that may have matched, and then brings up the relevant search object. So that's a neat feature. I showed you recent activity, new accounts, pretty simple. It's a little more robust than some of those quick screens because it's got this info at the bottom, but it's just like the edit screen of an account. Settings are pretty great because you could pretty much run it your single man show, single owner operator on mobile without going into ServiceMonster too much. You'll need to do some template setups, especially for email. But other than that, you can do a lot of your setup and company settings in here, tax rates and so forth. So pretty cool stuff. And then we've got the dashboards at the top, general monthly income, sales pipeline, your different leads, opportunities, work orders, and then sales by month. So you can kind of see your flow. So every business is seasonal. What do you really look like in terms of revenue by month? What are you tracking against? And then as over time, like everything else that we build, we'll build those dashboards up to be more in line with what you see in 6, a little more geared towards some KPIs that we really want you guys paying attention to. So yeah. All right, so back to ServiceMonster. What I want to do now is go over a little more in detail about some of the new features that we have introduced very recently and essentially really launching as of today. And the first one here, of course, being the schedule. So I went through the schedule real fast, and if you're a current ServiceMonster user, you may have noticed some of the differences. You actually may be playing with it all together too, I don't know. But we can go over some of the better features that we put in the schedule. The first thing, if you're a super long time ServiceMonster user, you'll notice that this is a really nice mashup between ServiceMonster 5 and ServiceMonster 6 with some additional candy sprinkled on top. I call that syntactical sugar because I'm a geek. And that simply means for development, if I write 10 lines of code, then if they introduce a release to my code writing tool that allows me to write 1 line of code that then turns into 10 lines of code, we call that syntactical sugar. And so I'm trying to give you guys a little bit of process sugar by eliminating the need to move off of the schedule as much as possible. And so the first thing that you'll see is just the massive amounts of data. And we put all the data back. We shrink things down. We can go a little bit smaller. There's been some calls for that, but pretty cool stuff. Sorry, ServiceMonster users. Prospects, I'd like to go back for 1 second and point out these colors, proximity detection. They tell you how far and in what direction jobs are. And so you could schedule light colors by light colors in order to keep technicians in a specific area. Just wanted to point that out. But here you can turn on all these kinds of job details, and you can pick the size of your cells so you can see what's going on. And then, again, how many days do you want to see in one time? How much scrolling do you want to do is really what it turns into. How much data do you want to see versus how much scrolling do you want to do? As I click on each one of these orders in the new schedule, it opens up the order in your sidecar into this really neat summary. It'll show notes. It shows you your line item basics, and then a lot of just the little confirmation stuff like how much is it paid? Like you can see that kind of stuff from this toolbar here too, which helps. I can see nothing here is paid, right? So let's say I wanted to pay this guy. I click my payment button. I'm just going to click check, cash. We'll just do cash and hit save. And you can see that's a $0 though, so it won't show up. Dang it. Well, let's do this. Show you guys how easy this is. So I'll do a carpet cleaning. Just put on a widget here. We don't even really care. Save that guy. And so now if I come in here and pay, it's got my default. There we go. And cash and save. And you can see here it's got the little payment buttons because it's got the little $sign here. So I can scan through my schedule real quick and who's paid me and who's not. Maybe I need to send them an email with that link that they can click on and pay. And then when they do that on your schedule, that little dollar sign is going to pop up. So that's kind of nice. This other one here on the right, that's your job status. And so, whether you're doing confirmation appointments or the guys are checking in and you can see, boom, look at, they're on the job. That's nice. And it'll give you, see if we can see the line. This line is the real line. So it'll tell you where you really are. So what should happen is the line should go across, and every job it intersects with, there should be a little truck there. So you know that they're all checked in and doing their work. You can see the status here is paid as well. You can launch new activities if you needed to do a follow-up or a phone call or so forth. And then, of course, you can, from this screen, launch the completion wizard, which is another thing that I wanted to go over. Not quite yet. Okay. So you can see the styling is a little flatter. We moved away from the rest of the app. The more modern design is its cleanliness. It's its breadth. And we tried to do that in the schedule in 6, and we ended up hiding and taking out some details that were super serious important. And so we put them back in, but now we have a flatter design. And Aaron was the engineer who built this. It took him a year, and it's just gorgeous. And turning on map now makes so much more sense. And it shows me the route for a given day. And by the way, this used to cost us $0. Now it costs us $7,500 a month. And so to help with that, what we've done, if I go into partial map mode, if I make a change on the screen that will change the route information, it doesn't redraw every time automatically. You have to click this refresh button. And that's to help keep my costs down, right? So this is the first thing that we're going to do to help keep costs down. But it's a really helpful tool when you're taking a day and you're siphoning out and moving jobs around. And this works much better than the previous implementation of this particular feature. Okay, so we'll hide that guy. The sidecar, again, you've got 3 tabs. You've got your schedule tab here. You've got your on deck, and you've got your waiting. So waiting is great. If you haven't used it, it allows you to take a job that you're going to schedule far in advance to Mrs. Jones. And she's not too happy because she's a longtime client. She was really hoping to get in by next week. You can say, well, look, let's put you on the schedule for 2 weeks from now, but I'll put you on the wait list. If I have a cancellation in your area as identified by the colors, right, then I will call you up and see if we can get you on the schedule. And so that allows you to easily fill your schedule for those last minute cancellations. Because now, let's face it, you're going to call up Mrs. Jones, say, I can be there in 3 hours. She's going to say, oh, gosh, I didn't know. And then you're going to keep your original appointment anyway. But it saves you from promising Mrs. Jones that you'll call her and not doing it. And the occasional time Mrs. Jones actually will plug in that slot, it keeps your truck full for the day. So waitlist is a very powerful feature. On deck is just stuff that's unscheduled that was created a while ago that needs to be put on the schedule. So if you create an order somewhere, it's going to get put on deck. And then you can do things like looking at your individual jobs in a list in other places if you want to fish some things out. Like, here's my job list seen in a non-schedule view, right? All the information there. And I can go through that and work through that process and then bring up those jobs and do what I need to do. And here's the time logs for the technicians, an audit trail for the whole thing. And here's the notifications you may have against this job to send out email and or text reminders for follow-up or pre or post job. A handful of things there. Okay, go back to the new schedule. Resource scheduling based off grouping. We've already talked about that. Route packet, again, if you're a longtime user, you know about this, but we're one of the only, weirdly enough, we're one of the only companies that will allow you to print or a PDF of the route packet for work, which can include no totals. And you can send that to employees as a PDF. They can get it in an email, open it on their phone. They know which jobs they need to go work on. So if they don't want to download an app and you don't want to show them any totals, that's a really easy way to communicate that information, is emailing them and or printing them route packets. Settings, we went through that pretty extensively. Totals, we fixed some calculations on there. So they're calculating more in line with what you'd expect for multi-job things. Let's see. We went over how fast you can do all that stuff. And again, too, with if you have phone numbers in here, clicking on and you have something like RingCentral hooked up, clicking on a phone number field in here will ring the phone automatically. We allow you to do that in activities and on places like this. So your flow can be real simple if you got it all dialed in. And yes, to answer the question ahead of time, screen pop. We have screen pop. So if you have a soft phone system, you can plug in a URL that will automatically open the browser and take you directly to the quick add, which will have the info plugged in and bring up the possible matches. So very cool stuff there. Okay, so new schedule, super hot, very fast. The biggest reason why we started this, besides making sure that we picked up the pieces with 5, because we really want to close that gap. But the other main reason was speed. We got our servers really fast, but for larger operations like this one, frankly, the speed wasn't great. And so what we did is we discovered, since our servers are fast, but our speed for the user was slow, it had to be in the way that it drew on the schedule. So part of Aaron's mission when he started this a year ago was to design and architect a way to draw on this screen that was extremely fast. And man, it's a 10x at least. We were seeing 20 and 30-second render times with some of our very large clients that were now happening in seconds. So we've got one client with 105 routes. Obviously, they use a lot of the filtering mechanisms because you just can't deal with 105 routes at one time on any system. But it was so painful in the old schedule. This one is just lightning fast. So we're very proud of it. He did an amazing job. So we're very proud of our engineer Aaron on that effort. Yeah, so that's the new schedule. So I hope you guys love it. Dive into it, play with it. Now let's talk about the completion wizard. So this is, interestingly enough, a feature that my son and I worked on together. So he built it, but I helped design him through it. I'm looking for a invoice. I guess I can read invoice, because I went backwards, didn't I? See, it moves so fast. Okay, so I want a work order. Invoice. Where are you? Let's go back one more. Work order. Yay, work order. Okay, so open. You can. I'm going to go over something with invoices that are pretty cool too, but I kind of wanted to give the general experience. So from here, I can make any modifications I want, but I can simply just convert it to an invoice, right? And then from here, I can apply the payment, or I can send an email, again, talking about sending them that email invoice. So this is similar to the checklist on mobile, but it actually has the pieces in it. So I can ship that email to get paid, or I can record the payment itself just in here through cash. And you'll see my status here, balance due is now 0. I can update my jobs if the technicians didn't log in and log out properly. I needed to correct that, or add logs in general so everything's lined up. And if you are assigning commissions, making sure the commissions were applied properly. So instead of running around the app on different tabs, closing out those features, the completion wizards, like in 5, was really designed to do all your closeout processes in one step. And so we knew from 5 what you wanted. It never made its way into 6 until this release. So pretty simple there. Now, one thing that's super cool, so now if I come back, say I go to this invoice. One thing you might not know, or I'm sure you know about ServiceMonster if you use it, is invoices can't be edited. Because we raise the little hand when it gets converted to an invoice to be converted and shipped into your accounting system like QuickBooks. And that's one of the ways that we control that when the order gets converted into an invoice. We also send out notifications on all kinds of platforms. So let's say that you're hooked up with Nice Job or you're hooked up to Zapier. When order is close to an invoice, it communicates to everybody information that you have determined. It doesn't do it on its own. You have to enable it, just to make that clear. But it'll communicate to everything you want to communicate to. But what happens if you have to update it? It's like, oh, you got to go through that whole process again. Well, at least it's somewhat encapsulated in the closeout wizard. So the closeout wizard will actually allow you to edit the order itself. And it's a little clever. This is syntactical sugar. It submits a request, updates it to a work order, then makes the changes, and then updates it back to an invoice. So it does it, on its own in the background. but it allows you to modify the invoice. Now, the reason why we allow you to modify it here is because you can see the ramifications of it. Do you need to mess with your payment balance? Do you need to update your jobs and the job times? Do you need to reassign or recalculate commissions? Do you need to send out new emails again? So in that sense, and then of course with review and posted, you can turn those on or off if they're re-imported, or you can go over to your accounting system and fix it. But in any case, the completion wizard was really designed to make your lives easy, to close out these jobs in one place and get everything you need done. All right. And then the other thing that I really wanted to talk about, I know we're running late, but was the inventory control system. So no items in here yet. Let's do this. We'll shout out to my friends at Interlink Supply. So I'm going to go to Interlink, any old site. We'll go to chemicals, and we'll find something. How about upholstery chemicals? We're going to go here. We're going to take this URL. I'm going to create a new item. I'm going to plug it in here. Let's say from Interlink. And look at that. It's screen scraped Interlink information. And I can hit save. And now I've created that as one of the items that I track in my inventory. So yeah, if you're watching and you're a vendor or you know of vendors, please feel free to send me an email. I'd like to hook up to other vendors as well. And we can actually do things on the backside to automatically add things to the cart, so these guys can one-click check out with stuff that they need. So how do we do that? There's a handful of things. You'll notice quantity on hand, 0 units, because I didn't receive any. I can reorder, and I can do some editing. So let's do some editing here. So here's my minimum quantity. So this is the minimum quantity on hand I want to have before I want the system to automatically create a purchase order for this new item. And when it does it, I want it to reorder 10 of them. Okay, so we're going to leave that active. That's all good there. So we're going to save. Okay, now I've got an inventory item. I don't have any of it on hand. I can go to transactions, add a new transaction, and say, you know what, I've got 10 units on hand. This is my initial inventory. I'm just going to plug that in and go to my details, and you can see I've got 10 units on hand. Okay, all good, all fine and good. Now, if I want to, I can come in here and I can attach this to services. So let's say this is, would we grab upholstery? So here's an upholstery service in our database. And I'm going to say for every, how many units, like for every 10 chairs, we're going to use 1 gallon of this guy, right? So what's going to happen now is anytime I put upholstery as a service on my work orders, when it converts to an invoice, let's say I did 10 chairs that day, it's going to say off my invoice, hey, 10 chairs, that's a gallon of this chemical. And so it's going to deduct a gallon of material out of my inventory. When that inventory is reduced by the minimum quantity on hand, if you remember, we set that up to be 5, it will automatically create a purchase order. That's what this is. I clicked reorder, it comes here, and it allows me to create a purchase order with whatever vendor I have. In this case, it created an interlinked vendor, but you can fill that out more, right? More information, who to contact, and all that kind of stuff. But now I have a purchase order that I can track. And so when it comes in, then I can receive it. The material goes into inventory, and I'm good to go. So you can see if you're doing a lot of this stuff, if you're processing and crunching a lot of inventory, knowing how much you have and when to reorder ahead of time, man, that's such a big job. And having all of this automated within ServiceMonster makes it super easy. Then the next benefit is if you're tracking your times correctly with your technicians and you're managing your inventory, and we know how much you're consuming on each job, we can give you cost of goods sold. So we can give you your labor hours and your total consumables, right? If you want to throw in depreciation on your own, we can talk about that. But the general concept is here, and you can really hone in and keep track of the consumable materials that you have. Equipment tracking is down the road, but this inventory control, I felt we really need to get this out to you because it's a very powerful feature. self-contained in this one section. It doesn't exist anywhere else in ServiceMonster except for maybe a report. And it all happens automatically. Your technicians don't need to know about it. Your office managers don't need to know about it. Once it's set up, it just goes, and then you reorder those POs. And hopefully down the road, because we did this in 2004, believe it or not, we hooked up to Interlink's shopping cart. So when you said order my PO, then it would send that information to the shopping cart. You can go into the Interlink shopping cart and click buy. And then it just not enough volume went through it for either of us to keep it alive, but it's something that I would like to revisit with a handful of vendors. So again, feel free to mention it to your vendors the next time you go in for juice and gear. It'll make it super easy for you to reorder, and it'll be good for them, good for you, good for us, good for everybody. So that was the inventory control piece I wanted to go over. And of course, we talked about Core, which is the new $49 option. It's the much simpler version. If I take Enterprise and drop all of the features that get extended, we end up with Core. And that, paired with the new mobile app, is a powerhouse for a single owner operator and gives you an immense room to grow, right? So as your company grows, you can get off the $50 version, move to the $80 version, and pick up some of those additional features, marketing, reporting, and dashboards. And then, of course, again, we don't charge by the user like a lot of companies do. 1 to 3 routes at Pro, $80 a month. It gives you 3 routes, unlimited users, and a lot of power. Enterprise gives you unlimited users, unlimited routes, and also gives you that inventory control feature and drip campaigns. So we're playing with this as far as pricing goes. We've just added Core to our current pricing. Just so you guys know, October 1st, we're increasing our prices. So ServiceMonster Pro and ServiceMonster Enterprise will go up. Okay, so I think that's the core of it. Adam, you want to pop back on here and we can move into Q&A? And feel free, if you guys need to bail at this point or stay for Q&A, like you've got the pieces that you need for the prize. You've already stayed a little bit longer than we've asked you to for the initial hour. But man, if you guys want to stay and hang and ask questions, and we can do all over the map, just not about ServiceMonster. You know how I roll on that. And if you guys want to hang around, as long as what we have 150, we kept a pretty good audience. So as long as we have maybe even 70 or 80 people left, I'll stay and just answer questions until we fall over.
Yeah, and Joe will probably stay a little bit longer than I will, but Joe will stay all night if he has to. So, okay. So first and foremost, I do want to say everyone who did not have a name, it was difficult to kind of private message some of you guys. So if we missed something and you guys want to have that answered, go ahead and ask away again. A lot of the questions we were able to answer right there, kind of on the spot, Joe. But I'm gonna kind of bring them up to you so you can kind of bring them up to the group as a whole. So one of the big ones, which you did address there right at the end, but just kind of really out for everyone to hear. We only have the URL integration on inventory currently with Interlink. And so if you say one more time that, hey, that we're looking to get, new vendors in there so you guys have more options. So just kind of touch on that one more time.
I mean, you guys all go buy your juice and gear from someplace, right? Some of you guys love John Don. You know the story of John Don. We don't really work with John Don, so that's a dead end. But everybody else, Interlink, and that was, I don't even think Interlink knows about that. Since Scott Warrington and who are some of the other players over there, Doyle Bloss left Interlink, my inside sources have kind of dried up. Aramsico did a pretty good job, corporatizing that thing. So if you guys know, of any vendors that you think would benefit from exposure to this giant ServiceMonster platform, send them our way. I'd be happy to plug them into the system so you guys can push stuff back and forth. But I'll need your help on that. It can't just be us contacting them because, they're not going to fully understand it. But if enough of you guys go into your Interlink supply store or to your, whatever distributor you buy from and say, hey, you guys know about ServiceMonster? Are you part of their marketplace? That would be good for everybody. And we typically don't charge vendors for that kind of stuff. So it's not like we're looking to turn it into a cash scheme for us. I just want to simplify your lives around order processing, pulling in information, and getting that stuff reordered as easy as possible.
All right. So the next one I wanted to ask is, we were asked a lot about different kind of credit card integrations, and I know that you're gonna probably smack me for this one, Joe, but Square was mentioned a lot, and is that
Yep.
still on the roadmap?
Yeah, it's our next payment integration.
Perfect. So everyone who asked about that, there you go.
So, and just the real quick story on that. We dragged our feet a little bit because Square at first didn't want to play right. They wanted us to send the account and order information to Square. So the platform had your customer information, and then you would open up Square to process the payment. That's what, like, why even bother? I'm not going to be responsible sending that to Square just for that integration. I knew they were going to come out with a RESTful API that allowed us to use them as a gateway. They've since done that. We just haven't had the time because we've been working on all this stuff. But, you know, now I've got engineering horsepower, nothing to do, right, Adam?
Yeah, nothing to do, right? Okay, so another one that was asked pretty frequently was, let's find it here. Is there a price lock for services? Oh.
Yes. So, so it means that people creating orders can't edit them. So if I go into my services, boom, 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 lock, bang. So I click that, and whatever the price is set here can't be modified on an invoice.
Boom.
Price lock, baby.
Another really, I think, great question for everyone is talking about the Technician app and the new mobile app, and just kind of tie in how all that's going to work.
And that'll give us our roles versus leads question I wanted to answer too. So hopefully you're still out there. The person who asked about what technician being able to create estimates, or technician role being able to create estimates. Okay, so here's the short version. Technician will be going away, just like Mobile 3. Ethan has done a really good job of building technician into the new app. And so when a technician logs in to the new app, probably towards the end of next week or so, they will see what you would normally expect to see when logging into Technician. So it allows us to keep it all under one roof, keep things tight, modifications and advancements that we make on one platform, then we can just deal with that one platform. I'm trying to, again, ServiceMonster Simplified, right? I'm trying to make it so we have one app and one desktop. And that's what you guys use, those two things. You don't have to go figure out whether it's Mobile 2 or Mobile 3 or Technician or the new app or ServiceMonster 5, like none of it, right? So tablets are going to be more friendly to ServiceMonster Desktop, to be honest, than anything else on the platform. We'll be working with that on mobile, but, you know, desktop is pretty good on tablet, depending on your size and zoom. Play with those and you can dial it in. And then to talk about rules and roles. So right now, when you create a user, I can assign them a role. And those roles are fixed. They mean specific things. So if I go into a user account, you can see my security roles here. We've created a handful for you. And these have specific definitions. And they're not always consistent amongst the platforms, which is interesting because of user feedback. No, I really need X, Y, Z on this. Okay, sure. And so we've been put into a conundrum of managing these things and what they mean, and trying to deliver that to an audience who needs more flexibility. And so what we're doing is we're moving to a new technology. I rebuilt our security platform years ago, and we've been using it for a long time. We didn't finish it completely, so we'll be working towards that. That will be added so that you can create your own roles. And each role will have a set of rules. And the software will not pay attention to the role, it will pay attention to the rules. So if you need your technicians to be able to create estimates, then they will have that capability on all platforms. If you need your workers, your laborers, to not see totals in any platform, then you can limit them to the app and take away all of their viewing on all totals on all orders, right? These are the types of things that roles versus rules are going to be able to allow us to do. So it was a long-winded, but it's still the short version of that story.
Everything.
I'm back, Adam.
Everything can be long-winded with you, Joe. So
Oh,
ever been. There was another question related to the order approval, and it's up on the staging environment for us. So it's kind of touch briefly on what that's gonna, like, what the behavior is.
Yeah, that should be available next week. And just like online order payment, we're going to have online order approval, and it won't get in your way, but it'll allow you to develop a queue, take an order, send out an email or a text, put a link in, and allow the user to look at the order online and then click approve or decline. Then that'll show up in the list for you. You can process approved or declined orders. Maybe the declined orders, you want to make a couple changes and resubmit. Maybe you just guys decide to part ways. Maybe they accept the order, and then you move on, and you can add some stuff later, do some upselling and whatnot. No big deal. But it allows exterior cleaning professionals to do a drive-by or maybe even do a Google estimate and then shoot a client an email sight unseen. So they don't even have to meet in order to send them a proposal to then have accepted to go do the work, which again, they don't have to meet because it's exterior. They can just do the cleaning outside during the day and then submit an email to the client for payment. So they can go through this entire process and never actually shake hands with the client. Or better yet, it's a client that you shook hands with a couple times before, and that just makes it so easy for them to deal with you. Book job, get payment, do all that stuff. So that's kind of where we want to keep that.
So I was just Diego, you asked me something specifically. I'm going to reach out to you through email because the chat client is being weird. So just wanted to let him know I'm not skipping him there.
A lot of talk about training. So Adam,
yes.
You want to cover that one?
Yes. So we are changing kind of the self-help with the full training videos and all of that with some of the kind of SOP processes. That is on the way. But for our current clients, if you guys are looking for training on the software, especially if you're new, but really for all of you guys, we have webinars that we do, both myself and my coworker, Michael, who you guys may have already chatted with. We have live webinars. Now, if you're Kim Dryer Enhanced, you do have a separate kind of sheet there, just so you guys are doing kind of the same processes as normal, but the page is right here.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, because he started this off with what we may have in the future, we have very extensive help now. Tons of videos, tons of online documentation, blogs. It wouldn't be one video for the whole thing. It would be like a 5-hour video. We have lots of small videos, though, going over each of the part. And we have a full educational course broken up based off general functions like booking a job, front office work, on the job, and closing out the information. So Adam will post a link. You also, if you're part of the ServiceMonster family, you have access to this stuff all over the place directly from the app itself. There's a link. And then we send out emails on a regular basis of content updates. I would also encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do post training content as well as updates. We do a podcast every other week where Adam and I sit and we kind of talk about what's coming up. And a lot of those discussions kind of end up sounding like the old Ask show. We did 80 videos of Ask ServiceMonster where business owners were asking us business questions. So that's another good resource for you guys. So just tons of resources, both in terms of getting education on how to use ServiceMonster, what are best practices when it comes to some of this stuff, and general business growing in a culture, building a business, dealing with employees. We don't talk too much about the technical aspects of cleaning or the machinery themselves, like the RX-20s or the water-fed pulls, but we get into all the other stuff. So again, not only ServiceMonster and how to use it, but better ways to manage your business and some gateways into some more introspective ways of thinking. Because as business owners, man, everything's our fault. We've got to take responsibility to make things better and grow, or we never will. So there's a bunch of trial links. Click on any of those. Click up there, and you get and you'll just jump right into ServiceMonster. Which again, that's another new thing for us. So we used to do this demo where you talked and we did a walkthrough, or you could access the demo on your own, which is full. Why does my camera keep doing that? Which is full of all kinds of demo data. And it wasn't the greatest way to approach that, but it was clean from a technical point of view. And sometimes I got to get over being a geek first and a salesman and marketer second. But so the deal there is, now we have 14-day free trial. So you pop in and it's your account and you're good to go, and you just roll with it, and you can use it, and you get help, because we're a software as a service. We take that service part very seriously. Yes, we want you to try the software, but we also want you to try the service. The only thing that it doesn't include is a detailed data import, because I can't do that for free. I'd go out of business. So there is a way to import your own account list, and you can certainly just jump right in and start using it. You want a data import, sign up, and we'll go from there. So
Hey,
big old the prerequisite to grow a beard to work at ServiceMonster. Justin, myself,
Aaron,
we do have a number of decent sized beards. Aaron's currently in the lead.
You guys don't even know. Come here.
Aaron, he's responsible for the schedule. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but then show him Brian. Brian built mobile. Show him Brian.
Brian, come over here. Come over.
Does he have his clean face? Because he
Brian absolutely looks phenomenal as always. Very clean cut.
There you go. Clean cut, man. There you go. Hey, so that's the engineer behind mobile, the new mobile app. So yeah.
I did want to kind of, since you have the screen open, Joe, do you just want to show them on your user drop down there, just the help site? If you guys on your, you don't have to even, you just go to the help videos right there at the top.
Right there, man, right there.
That's all you guys
go right
gotta
there.
do.
Help videos. Boom, look at this. Webinar style training. I can hook up there, do it yourself training, knowledge base, setting up, getting started. Like before the job, I'll click on this lesson plan. And there's talking about the quick add. Here's the first lesson. Stephanie here. We miss Stephanie. The new quick add videos that she did for us to walk you through that. And then here's text based. If you don't want to sit through a video, that will really help you streamline the process. Then you go to your next step, right? So yes, we've got documentation galore, as well as the webinars that Adam and Chachi run at scale. So there you have it.
Yep. Also, it's been asked a lot. We tried to answer as many of them as we could, but just re-emphasize that this is recorded and it's going to be on the YouTube channel.
That is correct. As I panicked from our weird startup to make sure that it was still recording, but it looks like it is still recording. So.
It is, yes, yes.
It looks like the biggest hang up with the whole dang presentation so far has been that first 5-10 minute weirdness from, again, brought to you by Big Marker.
Yeah, no, that was a little
platform that we're using.
Frustrating there.
They're starting to drop off. They're starting to drop off. We got 98. Nah. We got more questions?
So this one I'll just answer really quick because it's super simple. Can you import client data from Camelot? The answer is yes. In fact, it's one of our most detailed imports. We can pull history, jobs on the schedule, all of your accounts. Like the import tool for that is phenomenal. So yes, we can import from Camelot.
Camelot was our original competitor in 2003, and we developed a specific import tool just for them, and we've been doing them ever since. Yeah, we do those a lot. Well, not a lot anymore. There's hardly any more Camelot users, especially once we got ChemDry in 2012. We've been around for a long time. Where's the monster gone to? Yeah, I know. So here, we can take a moment of silence. If I go to this page real quick, I noticed it today. I still have in my demo account the monster. There he is. Let's see, copy image address. Let's get them all isolated. There you go. Say goodbye to the monster. Yeah, he won't be popped up anytime soon. We got to move on, man. Times are changing.
Times
I
are
got to make
changing.
sure that I am not holding the company back. This is a very symbolic thing for me. I talk about introspection a lot. I talk about, growing a culture, and I'm not trying to be a dictator. I'm trying to make myself less and less relevant. And so as the company advances, I want to make sure I'm not the one standing in the way. So the monster was a big symbol of that. So yeah, he's gone. Who is to see? Shout out to Marty McMonster. Time clock. So it's one of the big things on the board to tighten up our timekeeping. You can check in and check out of jobs. You can start and stop your day. It's not super smooth. The reporting isn't great. First to admit that. But it's there. And what we're going to probably do is clean it up the basics for ServiceMonster and then send those events as triggers into Zapier. Oh, we didn't even get into Zapier and API. And so then you'll be able to hook up to other programs like T-Sheets and that. Like they built entire companies out of just timekeeping, right? So we can integrate with some of the products like that via Zapier, and it'll make everything much easier. So we are working toward it. We'll never be like T-Sheets by any stretch. Logging in, logging out of jobs to keep COGS. That's our first goal. Keeping track of time logs of each employee's day so that you can use that to do payroll somewhere else. We're not going to be a payroll system. I see that, but I kind of see that's where it's ending. So just FYI. Again, though, make me, right? So if the SMUG community and the ServiceMonster community at scale says we really need feature XYZ, and we'll get to building. So that's how it works.
So,
email being cleared for spam. Oh my God, I'm so glad somebody asked this. Sorry, Adam. I'm gonna railroad this. So good. Okay, so I'm taking away SMTP and SMS. And if you don't know what that means, here's what that means. I'm taking the services by which email is sent out of ServiceMonster directly, because I'm tired of getting blamed for this bullshit. So here's how it goes. You go to your settings, and then you go to SMTP. Where am I? Oh, let's turn all these things back on. Unless I'm just missing it. You got me all fired up now. Okay. SMTP settings. Okay, so here's the deal. If these aren't filled out, you're using ServiceMonster's default SMTP settings, which is what I'm threatening to take away. Okay, that means you can't send email in ServiceMonster until you set up your own SMTP service. Google gives you one for free. It allows you to send up to 500 emails a day, and then no more. Otherwise, you got to do the pay service. And there are other pay services, SMTP, that are out there. It's costing us an arm and a leg, and we're getting blamed for undeliverable. Because here's what happens. That SMTP is one address, and every ServiceMonster user, all 7,000 of you, are using that one pipeline if you're not using your own SMTP service. And if one of those, and you guys know carpet cleaners and window cleaners and pressure washers, there's a handful of you that are sending out emails in questionable ways that could be viewed as spam. When that happens, that entire pipeline gets smacked. They go, hey, you guys can't be doing that. And so the deliverability of all emails on that pipeline goes down until we run around and try to clean up the reputation services. So it's just a massive amount of time it takes away from engineering and development efforts. It makes you guys feel like we're doing something wrong because we happen to be in a situation where we just gave you email that worked out of the box. 99% of all CRM providers now make you hook up with an SMTP service in order to send and activate email within the product. So that's what we're going to end up going to. That's why email is not being delivered. And the first thing I would do for everyone who's listening, who's a ServiceMonster user, is, and if Adam, if you could post the link of how to do this, go to Google, get your SMTP, and plug it into ServiceMonster and stop using our servers, because that's not going to be good for you. Just not.
I'm grabbing the link now.
With the new calendar, is it accessible on all platforms? No, the new schedule was built for ServiceMonster 6, period, not 5. We haven't done an update in 5 in years, like maybe a bug fix, or we introduced some new templates or something. Stuff usually trying to keep up with some of the background features we do in 6. We want you guys off 5. We don't want you guys on 5. And I understood when the argument was, yeah, but my schedule. And I went, okay, I get it. You're right. Because to be honest, super agents, when we did our own call center, super agents were using 5 a lot longer than I wanted them to. I wanted them on 6, and they were like, nah, 5 is better on the schedule. And that's where they lived all day long. So it was like, okay, I get it. So I didn't say anything. But now this is out. I want to get feedback from more people moving from 5. I already know that people who use 6 are going to love this. And the people who are new, absolutely going to be dumbfounded. But the ServiceMonster 5 users, some of you guys just don't want to change. I get that too. That's why we're not going to flush the product. But at the same time, I'd really love you on 6. It just gives you so much more control. And the divergence between the two now is starting to become, you're going to have to pick one soon, just because of the way things work in the background. If you try to use both 5 and 6, there's sometimes some weirdness. And we're squashing those as we see it. But yeah, just bite the bullet and just go to 6. And then if you can't, then I want to hear why. Write me the email that says, Dear Joe, I'm not moving to 6. Here's why, and give me a couple bullet points. But explain it well, having gone over the new ServiceMonster 6 schedule, because it's just ridiculous. So fast, so clean. You can do so much more. And again, I know there's a lot of people who don't want to change. I had a client whose mom was, he was a late Gen Xer, early boomer. His mom doesn't like change, didn't like computers at all. But then she fell in love with the version of ServiceMonster we had before what turned out to be 5. And she was the last one to move on to what was then 3. And man, she didn't want to do it. And then 3 weeks later, she called me and she was so much happier. But she was the last one to convert over. So I know we're going to have that in ServiceMonster too. But anyway. All right. We're more and more dropping out more and more.
There's a question up here. It's been asked a few times, so I do apologize for whoever that is. Just kind of go over importing, client lists from another provider. And then he also asked about ServiceMonster offer agreements, terms, etc. So 2 questions to one.
Yeah,
kind of.
Sure. So the first thing we'll say, what was the first one again? Oh, importing. So you can import customer lists and prospect lists. You can also import on your own products and services. We can import from QuickBooks Online and QuickBooks Desktop. We can import in from Camelot, Service CEO, and any other CRM that you have is now typically going to be hooked up with QuickBooks Online. So even if we don't have a direct integration, the integration that has been pretty smooth for us has either been the account list, which of course you don't get history, so bummer, or you go from that CRM to QuickBooks Online, and then from QuickBooks Online on the ServiceMonster. Now, the big question will be, how well did they integrate with QuickBooks Online? And if that was done in a reasonably well way, then we'll pull it out of QuickBooks Online directly, and poof, all your data is inside ServiceMonster. So that's one. Number 2, terms and conditions. So we have a TOS. The data is your data. We recognize as your data. We don't use it, sell it, permit the use of it. The only thing that we do is we'll occasionally run analytics, like we processed $500 million in invoices last year. Right? Or the national average invoice for cleaning services was $284. Or that the national average invoice went up 5% between 2017 and 2018. That's how we use your data, and that's it. We recognize it as your data. You own it. You're the sole owner of it, and you represent that you own it too. So if you steal it, then they go after you, not us. You are not locked into anything. You can quit next month if you don't want to use it anymore. Try that 14-day free trial. Sign up by the end of that free trial, and you're rolling with whatever monthly fee you have. You're shielded from any recent price changes, and there's no cancellation fees. We're currently not rolling with any setup costs. And that's the long and the short of it, man. Customer support is amazing. Our training department, Adam shielded himself from it a little bit, but he's leading up our training department in those videos and documentation, but the webinars and getting people onboarded. And for larger clients, we do one-on-one kind of rollout sessions. But yeah, that's kind of the deal. So I hope I
Looks
answered
like
that for you.
he was actually asking about the terms and conditions to protect us from a client. So why don't you just hop to the print options really quick there, Joe. Show him the disclaimers there. So on your print settings there, boom, he's grabbing them
Yeah,
right there.
so I can set up disclaimers here, which I can use. I've got order disclaimers. I can create multiple ones of those and then to determine which disclaimer I use in what order and what circumstances. And here's your print order option. So for instance, I can have choose a specific order form, and I have a bunch of options here with the disclaimer. And then I can set this up for estimates, work orders, and invoices. They can all have different settings. And I can have different settings between residential and commercial clients as well. So this is a matrix of 6 different options depending on commercial, residential, and what order type it is. And then I can create as many of those as I want. And so when I'm on order, you see the SM standard here. If I pop into any order, so I can go to my estimate queue, and I pop open an order, I can see that the print right now is set to SM standard. So if I just click this, I'm going to get an SM standard invoice or a printout to print. And again, there's multiple forms and all kinds of styles. And if I had multiple style representations, they would show up here. And I can set this, and it'll stay for the order too. So if I set it to something different, that'll be for this order what gets printed. So if I send an email later that automatically generates an invoice, for instance, it'll have this guy. So yeah. Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
So there is a question here from Dan about if the office creates an estimate, they want to keep that estimate kind of as a footprint, he said. And he wants the text to create a work order. So likely that would include like the super technician role and using the app. But yeah, why don't you kind of explain that a little bit? Probably make a copy of the estimate.
That's what I would do. I would make a copy of it and look at what it did. It automatically made it a work order. That's amazing. So I don't even know where that came from. So let's do that again just for fun. So here I am with an estimate. I say copy. Boom. I made a copy of it now, and it converted it to a work order for me as another step. So now I've got 2 orders for this account. So if I can go to this account here, go to account history, I can see that I've got the oh, I did the same order. Isn't that fun? So I can delete one of these. Watch how hard it is to delete. Delete firstborn child. Are you sure? You can just void it, No, I really want to delete it. Okay, are you sure? But you got to type in the order number. Okay, can I copy? No, they won't let me copy the order number. Okay, so use 554, delete button, and delete. So you don't delete orders or accounts accidentally usually. Yeah, boom. And that's another one. So anyways, that's how I would do it. I would pop it to a different order if you want to keep the history, though. You got to manage that. You got to know that your estimate queue really isn't an active queue, or the things that are aged in it are irrelevant. So something I might do, and again, this will really show you the power of ServiceMonster. I might create a view. Let's do maybe I can do it in all orders. I create a new view. Let's call this active estimates. I think I could spell, huh? Type and spell. And then I want to add a condition. I want to put the let's see, where's here? QRS order type is equal to estimate. And I want to say order date created is less than, let's call it 30 days, right? So now I can create estimates to my heart's content. And what I'm going to have in this active estimates grid I just set up is all the estimates that have aged 30 days. Once they get to 31 days, they'll drop off this list. So that I would probably encourage a setup like that. If you're going to be creating work orders off estimates, you want to keep estimates around. You just don't have any great way to close the loop. You don't know that this estimate was converted to a work order along the process. So there is a little bit of weirdness there. So I would want to talk to the individual business owner to kind of go over what their goal is there and see if we can approach that in a way that may make a little more sense.
If the whole reason that you're kind of keeping the footprint there too is just for historical, like, don't be afraid to void things. Voiding an order is not going to mean that it's gone. It's still on the history. You can still write your notes there. So.
Well, don't void an invoice though.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. I meant as far as the estimates and things. There you go.
Yeah, you can void estimates all day long. Yeah, no big deal. And they'll just hang out in the background. So I guess I've ran into a handful of scenarios where the business, let's say, does some commercial work. They maybe do 2 or 3 estimates, and one of them is going to be what graduates. You can know which one graduates just by graduating it, so that's easy. And then the other 3 you probably would want to avoid, keeping them there for historical reasons if you should ever want to bring those estimates back to life for the work that you did. So
I also wanted to send everyone, it was asked a couple of times about SMUG, our ServiceMonster user group on Facebook. And if you're a current ServiceMonster subscriber and you're past the initial kind of just learning the system phase, because it's not a support section, Michael is going to send the SMUG link here. And so if you're not in the user group and you want to be, put it there. We'll vet you. Like, that's a real thing. Like, we're not going to just auto invite you.
You have to be a subscriber, and you have to have, use the system for a little bit, because we don't want it's not a support channel. That's a really bad way to get support, because then you're asking me to do work, and that's not a good idea.
This is a great question by Lee, Joe. It's another one of those that probably smack me on, but asking about read receipts on emails. If you just scroll up there.
Yeah, we talked about it. We just haven't added it yet. There's a couple features that I want to tighten up as we move forward, but instead of waiting for everything to be perfect before we release it, we get it to a point where I know that at least 50% of the people we're targeting to use it are going to use it. And there might be some people who can't use it because of a thing like maybe order approval needs an actual signature. Well, we don't have that yet, right? So that's very much like a read receipt on some of the emails that we send out. And the other thing I want to do too is open up that email pipeline to Zapier, so that we can hook up to third-party email. And then that way it'll simplify your lives in a handful of ways. So anyways, email is something that we're continuing to improve upon. Eventually we'll hit a point of no return where we're not going to ever be a full email client like Outlook. It's just not what we're building. But we want to make sure that we've got a good email system. We're tracking things. You've got history. You can bring things up. You can see what the system is sending out. You can integrate with third-party emailing platforms, and yes, be able to identify when accounts have read things or looked at things or opened things. So, yep.
So I'm not sure if this question was by a current user or an older user, a prospect. But are there any drip campaign example emails that we can use, or does it have to all be developed by myself? And if you're okay, Joe, I'll just take that really quick since you
did all the work.
So probably 2 months ago, I put in brand new templates. There's a whole bunch of brand new default templates. They're mobile responsive. They're much more modern. In my opinion, they're beautiful, but I'm biased. So we also set up a drip campaign process that mimics one of our Fill My Schedule, the most popular 8-step program for Fill My Schedule. So that's in there if you've signed up in the last, roughly 2 months. Now, if that's not the case for you, we are looking at ways of pushing that out to existing users, kind of getting that content out. But if you ask me very nicely, one-on-one, I'll kind of help transfer some of that stuff over in the interim. So if you want to email me at support@servicemonster.net, if you were the user who asked that, because unfortunately there's not a name there, I can help you there. So
very good. Very good. What's Zapier? Google it. It allows systems to connect to each other via data. And
there's a whole page here on Zapier. I just linked it.
Oh, very good. Look at that. So yeah, it allows you to hook up information from one system to another easily. Follow up with unbooked estimates easier. Yeah, that's a good process flow we need to sort out. There's a handful of ways you can do it. You can go to your jobs list. I don't know if a lot of people don't know about this because they focus so much on the visual of the schedule for jobs. You do have a jobs list, and you can sort these out. So I can say cancel jobs, and then zip through here, make activities for them, and so forth. But I would admit that we could have a much smoother use case that was designed specifically for that fact. So yeah, we can throw that in the backlog.
All right. Stuff keeps adding to Q&A here.
I know, man. It's like, and there's still 66 people here, and we're 2 hours in. Didn't feel like 2 hours.
Oh, handle conflicts on the schedule.
I want to show. Yeah. While I'm navigating, though, I'll answer Heather Branson's question about inventory. If she's still around, inventory is available now. We snuck it out to you guys a few weeks ago. So if you're an enterprise and you go to settings, it should be there. So if I go to schedule here, I think I have. I'll just make one. How's that? So what I'll do is I'll just clump these jobs together. So now what you see here is something horribly wrong. My this job block seems to be bleeding. You can even turn the details off. Nice colors, but you see that there's a red ring around it, and it's kind of glowing red internally. If I tap on it, I can see the individual jobs within the conflict. And then, of course, I can pull them out and place them to where they need to go. How come I can't pull them out, Adam?
Aaron said that was fixed. So we can yell at him. Is he still here?
So I can move that around. Oh, there it is. I have to grab on a specific area. That's fine. It was me. So you see how I untangled that? And then I put it on another conflict, and let's put it there. So it still says conflict there. Thanks, man. All right. Yeah. So it works okay.
The conflict thing was one of the most difficult things Aaron tried to work with.
The resolution is brilliant. I think we just have one little flaw, right? This whole header should be grabbable. Oh, it is now. Maybe I was working with a problem. And then it looks like it's not. Oh, now it's resolving. Okay, maybe it was just me. User error. User error. Very good.
So really, yes, it behaves a lot like how 5 did, because that's what people wanted the side by side, right? They could pull it off. We accomplished that without having to do weird things with the
it's beautiful. It's a great solution. It worked out really well. I can unstack them this way.
If anyone's curious about inventory, there's how to create an item. There's a whole article there.
I think it's time to wrap up, big guy. I gotta send all these people home. I can't keep paying you guys all overtime. Eric will kill me.
Yeah. Yes. If you want to sign up for Enterprise, then yep, that's how you gotta. If you want to add another route, that's the process there.
Yep. If you want to go to 4 routes, you got to go to Enterprise.
All right. Well, Joe, I'll kind of let you take the closing there. Again, this will be on YouTube, but.
Yeah, Lee, I hear you. Josh dragged me into a very interesting place in that podcast, so I don't know. It was weird. We love you guys. All right, we're going to bail, man. I'm out of here. Send any questions that you have remaining to Skylar or Ned or actually, I saw the polls. It looks like there was 120 ServiceMonster users and 30 new prospects. That's amazing. Amazing. All right, guys. See ya. Peace out.
Take care, guys.
All right. Shut this down. Oh, holy crap.